Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Oreaganic podcast. I'm your host, Reagan, and today's episode is going to be a riff on everything in the world that I feel is keeping everyone stuck. Like, genuinely, what I view as the top sources of what is keeping people miserable. Because let's be so for real, if you poll the general public, you poll the average person, I guarantee you there is some part of their life that something is being touched by the topics I'm going to talk about today. And if there's one thing about me, I am extremely rooted in the core value of freedom. Like, freedom is my number one thing that I care the most about in terms of both myself and everyone in this world, like the world collectively at large. And when it comes to freedom, there are so many ways that our most happiest, aligned, organic versions of self are buried under so many subtle, tiny layers of things like scrolling, small addictions, like mindset things, whatever, just like being stuck in old patterns. It's like there's so many things that keep people stuck, keep you stuck in old loops and old ways of living that don't actually serve you, and like keep you so disconnected from yourself. And it drives me fucking mad. It drives me insane, because now that I have gone through my own experience, I have gone through my own journey, I have learned so much, both on like a quote unquote educational level when it comes to like mindset and your brain and your subconscious mind. And also I have a greater understanding of like the systems at play and like why things look the way that they do. And it just like, I wish I could just like snap my fingers and make everyone kind of see the way out of how to like really truly free themselves, for lack of a better way to say it. And I can't. I can only do so much as one person right now. But this episode's going to be a start, even though I already have so many other episodes on the show. But like this is going to be more of a start to like the main core themes that I see and understand as ways that we are being held back from accessing our own true sense of freedom and empowerment, and actually being able to live a life that is most aligned with the version of ourselves that we want to be, that we came here to be, living the most ideal form of life for ourselves, both as our happiest, healthiest, most organic selves. So this might get a little not spicy, that's not the word. I get very passionate about this. I get very I'm very deeply invested in the topic of freedom for the collective at large, and literally every single one of you listening to this. So the goal of this episode is to just increase some awareness and hopefully give you a better sense of empowerment and ways to take more control and ownership over your own life, so that you can live a life of more happiness and freedom and fulfillment, being your most authentic self. So let's get into it. Welcome to the Oreaganic podcast. I'm your host, Reagan, mechanical engineer, lifelong athlete, and recovered overachiever, here to empower you to pursue your highest potential and live freely as your happiest, most organic self. Every week, we'll dive into topics ranging from personal growth, mindset hacks, psychology, and a blend of science and spirituality to give you all the tools you need to stop living on autopilot and start creating a life of freedom, meaning, and fulfillment as your most organic self. If you're ready to become the best version of yourself, then let's plant those seeds and grow. Okay, so when we talk about freedom in the sense of like empowerment, I don't mean that in this way of like, I am free to go do whatever the fuck I want to do, so I'm going to go be an asshole, I'm going to treat people like shit, I'm going to go crazy, like indulging in all of these vices and whatever. Like that's not the kind of freedom I'm talking about. Because yes, that is a sense of freedom, but freedom, when it's serving you most highly, is you have the understanding, consciousness, awareness, and will ability to like do the things that keep you living most aligned with like your best version of yourself, for lack of a better word. Unfortunately, I feel the term best version of yourself and like alignment, whatever, these sound like buzzwords, but I don't know how else to put it, because it's just real and true to the experience of life that you have when you are most free. And everything in this world, it feels like it's just designed to keep you from experiencing that, because we're not going to go very deep on this, but I will say, and also not to be cynical, but I will say that a lot of the systems that currently structure society right now, a lot of the things that hold a sense of control over the general population, do so in a way that is like very intentional. And once you realize this is what gets me the most worked up, is because like once I realized this, once I, got enough of an understanding of just like all of these like little tiny systems, these little things, these little ways that we are kind of controlled as, the masses. Oh, it just makes me mad. It makes me very, very, very angry and mad, because this is not the kind of world that I want to see. And obviously the first thing that comes to mind is all centered around our phones and how much time we spend constantly like consuming things mindlessly. You don't even want to be consuming all the time. You don't. And I've talked about this. It was literally my last podcast episode, I know. So I've talked about overconsumption before, but like our whole world is shaped to be a consumer. Like if you are someone just living in modern society, like we want you to be a consumer. Like big society wants you to be a consumer. That's how our world is designed. Even like, can you even drive on a highway in peace without seeing a flashing advertisement every 4 seconds? It feels like everywhere you go, it's like casino style advertisements to get you to buy whatever random things. You walk through the grocery store. Why is everything like fucking confetti colors? Why is it so overstimulating to walk through the aisles of a grocery store? And because companies are marketing so heavily, everything's just marketing. Everything is trying to sell you something. Everything is trying to just gain your attention and just kind of suck it away from you. And this is the number one way that you lose your sense of empowerment, because when you're giving your attention to something outside of yourself, you are naturally outsourcing your energy. And when you're outsourcing your energy, obviously you don't have as much to give to yourself. And when you don't have as much to give to yourself and you're giving it to all of these random ass fucking distractions that you don't actually really care about on like a fundamental level, you are depleting yourself of your entire stock and supply of energy that you could be putting towards creating your own life, being present in the moment, like actually embracing whatever it is that you're doing in the moment, whether it's just driving on the highway or talking to one of your friends or just like trying to go out and get fucking groceries. Like we can't do anything without feeling like there's this constant nagging little gnat of just like this suction cup vortex. It's like these gnat vacuums of energy awareness that are just like constantly around us, trying to just suck away all of our attention. And again, this is a natural product of the way that our society is structured, which is obviously very based on, like consumption. And, some people might even say like, oh, it's capitalism's so bad, whatever. Like, I'm not going to go into that. Like, yeah, I don't fucking care about the opinions on that. I genuinely don't give a shit. Nonetheless, point being is like everything in our world is designed to like take your attention away from you. This is the number one way that you lose your sense of power and you stay stuck living a life that like you don't even notice that you're doing this. You don't even notice how much of an impact it has to always be distracted by something, to always be focused on something else, to never be like fully here right now in the moment with what you're doing. You don't realize how much that quickly erodes like the quality of your life until you live probably like 5, 10 plus, however many years doing that thing, not even realizing it. And then you're like, oh fuck, what the fuck did I just do with my life? Like, what do I even do with my time? Do I even have time for my own hobbies? Like, what do I actually enjoy doing? Who am I? Like, we get to this point where it's very easy to get on this kind of just like background baseline setting to just kind of always be on consumer mode and never really on like the creator mode of things, where you are actively pursuing things to be doing that better serve you as a person or create a better life for yourself, or just like take care of yourself, such as working out or just like any mindfulness practice, even just seeing friends or doing like some kind of hobby. It doesn't always have to be health related, but every time that you give your limited supply of energy, your finite supply of energy to something outside of yourself that isn't actually really serving you or giving you any sort of valuable return on investment, you are losing your sense of power. And you are disconnecting from yourself and what actually serves you best. And now, let me preface as well, or say as a caveat, that I'm not saying that we can never consume anything, that we can never scroll on our phones or check something or just like exist and be a normal human being just functioning in society. Like, you don't have to go super crazy, like, I'm never going to consume anything, I'm going to be off grid, and I'm never going to be touched by anything ever again. Like, that's not the answer. I will always advocate for awareness, using your own discernment, and doing things in moderation. And the problem that I see with overconsumption is the fact that, like, most people don't have the awareness of how much they're actually consuming and how much it affects them. And if you're not aware of that, how are you possibly supposed to use your own discernment to figure out when you're actually just like numbing out and scrolling, and when you are just like choosing to actually do that? You know what I mean? Not just doing it as like a background kind of setting that you have that you don't even think about. If you don't have the awareness, then you can't possibly have discernment for yourself. And you don't have discernment for yourself, then how the fuck are you going to be able to do anything in moderation if you're not even aware, nor are you actively putting time and effort into choosing how much of a thing you're going to do, or like your indulgences, or just whatever. You know what I mean? Like, we're all human beings here. I'm not trying to say that we need to become these like these like earthy, crunchy robots that are all living on land out in the middle of nowhere and like completely disconnected from everything. Like, that's not the answer. That's not the moderation we're looking for. But it 100% is like a core tenet of what keeps people so freaking stuck in our modern day is this sense of overconsumption and just constantly being distracted by something without even realizing it. That's the thing. So overconsumption without awareness, discernment, or doing so in moderation, like consuming anything in moderation, that is like the biggest problem and reason why people are so disconnected from themselves and left to be disempowered and not actually living the best, happiest version of life that's available for them. The second thing that's keeping people really stuck is not understanding how to actually take control of your mind. Because let me just tell you guys, the most powerful thing that actually created the most sense of freedom for me in my life was understanding that your mind and your thoughts, like, are not you. Like, you are not your thoughts. Your thoughts do not define who you are, what you believe. Like, your thoughts come and go in passing so much. And they're based on what your current comfort zone is and what you are used to as a form of safety. Because I've talked about this in other episodes, but your brain does not want you to be happy. It wants you to be safe. And what feels safe is what feels familiar. So if you are used to being someone who is more focused on things that aren't, if you're like just naturally more negative, or kind of just see things in a worse light, or you kind of expect that things aren't going to be working out for you, then you're going to find that your thoughts and your brain matches this reality, because in your subconscious, like, that is your truth. That is your comfort zone. That's your safety. That's your familiar. And when that's your baseline, you're just going to continue to have thoughts that then create feelings, which then shape your entire experience of the world, which then shapes how you see yourself and your personality, and it bleeds into all of these other areas of your life. So this isn't to say that if you aren't someone who has like the best mindset and you're not fucking Tony Robbins, then like you're shit out of luck. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying that understanding your mind and separating yourself, like your conscious understanding and awareness that you are having a thought, separating that from your thoughts is what like allows you to access this greatest sense of freedom that a lot of people probably haven't experienced before. Because until someone actually points out to you that you are not your thoughts, you're the awareness behind them, it can be hard to kind of get yourself out of these thought spirals, out of these old patterns and these, mental grooves of comfort. Because again, you can't change anything if you're not aware of it. And this is why I get so frustrated with like the kind of structure of the world, because understanding your mindset, understanding your brain is not just this little like buzz term, personal development, woo-woo kind of thing. It's not. Like, it has so many other roots in actual human psychology and the science and the research behind that, like mindset work is such a buzzword because so many people will just advertise like, I'm a mindset coach. I'm going to change your whole life. I'm going to go crazy. And there are mindset coaches who are absolutely incredible, who share knowledge that we should be learning in schools. That's my whole point. Is like, we should be learning this stuff on a streamlined basis, but it is not a coincidence that we don't, because when you have a society of people that is actually way more empowered to be living in alignment, living freely as themselves, and like be in control of their own life, guess what? They're a lot harder to control and manipulate. And when you can't control and manipulate people, you don't have as much power over them. And when you don't have as much power, there are people who are not a fan of not having as much power. That is all I will say. So when it comes to that, not understanding your mindset and how your brain works is like the biggest block. This can be solved with, there are so many resources that exist when it comes to mindset work, but the main core tenets that have helped me the most, which I try to share my perspective on this podcast, in other episodes. I think episode 3 is like one of the most streamed ones that I have when it comes to understanding your brain. But even so, I am not someone with a clinical degree in like psychology. I have a degree in mechanical engineering and a minor in astrophysics. Like, I'm not someone who went to school for understanding the mind. And that is why I got so much value investing time and energy and resources in learning from people who are experts in mindset work, who have podcasts about it, who have done research about it, like infinite resources online. My main way of learning was podcasts. And oh my God, did you just hear that? I almost said voice glitch. That was a voice crack. Moving forwards, there are so many resources to learn about mindset online, yet I feel like no one is talking about it. Like, no one's talking about it unless you're in this little sphere of personal development work, or like you start kind of seeing coaches on your feed or just people who talk about it. And that just feels so wrong to me. It feels so wrong that like understanding that your subconscious mind creates the grand majority of your reality. Most people don't know that. But once you realize that, once you have this knowledge and understand that like the way that you live your life is shaped by your subconscious mind, which was shaped by your childhood experiences and beyond, like this is where people dive into things like shadow work, or where journaling becomes really helpful for them. Anywhere where you turn the eye inwards and you start to understand the patterns that shape your life and kind of build a relationship with yourself and your own brain and separate yourself from your thoughts. Like I said, you are the conscious awareness behind your thoughts. You are not your thoughts. When you're in a thought spiral, you can still give yourself the space and the love to go through that experience while simultaneously understanding that like this does not define you. If you're going through a rut right now, for example, like sometimes we just feel shitty. Sometimes our brain is just spiraling. We're having a lot of thoughts, like we are all over the place, whatever. That doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It just makes you human. And when you understand that, you can hold more space for yourself to be able to go through human experiences and give yourself grace if you're trying to like shift your mindset or try to think more positively and, have a certain outlook on life that you haven't always carried. Like when you have this understanding of your brain's flexibility and you have a detachment from all of the thoughts that cross through your mind, you have way more freedom and way greater of a sense of empowerment because you feel like you're not the one who's being controlled by your thoughts. You are the one who is controlling your thoughts and you are controlling your emotions, which doesn't mean that you don't let yourself feel them. It just means that you are way more capable of holding space for yourself in a way that actually serves you. A great example of this is the comparison between reacting and responding to situations. Because a lot of people, their baseline, just because of childhood wounds and perceptions and trauma, whatever you want to call it, a lot of people weren't necessarily equipped with all of the emotional intelligence and resources, nor the nervous system capacity to be able to handle situations that really trigger a part of them, a part of their subconscious mind specifically. Most of us aren't given a tool book in elementary school of how to self-regulate or a model of, parents who had, a bunch of the information that we as a society and generation have now. Like most of our parents had no fucking clue about half of this shit when they were raising us, because how the fuck would they? Like literally, how would they? And because of that, a lot of us have a default state of reacting to situations. Like something comes up, someone says something pisses you off, you immediately react. You don't think twice about it, you just react to it. You get angry, you say something, you start to spiral, you get stressed out, you start, oh my God, how am I going to deal with it? You freak out. On the other hand, responding to a situation naturally requires you to have the capacity and awareness to understand that like you are separate from the situation at hand and you are the one who is in control of how you respond to the situation, which isn't to say that you don't immediately have, emotions like anger, frustration, whatever it may be when a situation comes up or like you feel triggered by something. It doesn't mean that you don't have an emotional response. It just means that you choose to be aware of it and consciously create the next steps for yourself in responding to it rather than something happens, you feel the emotion, you immediately react to it based off of the emotion. Is this making sense? The mindset work and understanding that you are the consciousness behind your thoughts allows you to have this kind of buffer that gives you a way greater sense of empowerment and control over how you actually experience your own life. So it's not about dimming yourself down or controlling all your emotions by suppressing them. It is about having the, again, awareness to have the conscious discernment between, okay, this situation happened. This thing's really pissing me off right now. Like this person, I literally want to punt them across the Pacific Ocean. But what am I going to do instead? I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to hear and understand and have awareness of the fact that I'm really pissed off right now, but I'm not going to have this volatile reaction that then creates a worse response. And you see how this awareness, literally just the awareness behind the mindset here, allows you to create a much better circumstance for yourself and therefore respond in a way that actually fits probably more of the version of yourself that you want to be. Ideally, the one who feels the most empowered to deal with conflicts and handle the ups and downs of life, rather than be someone who is just susceptible to the waves of their emotions without any sense of control over the actual experience that you have. It makes you feel way more easily shaken by things outside of you, which naturally makes you feel like your power is outside of you because you are outsourcing your sense of safety to other people not triggering you. Whereas when you have a sense of control over your mindset and the awareness that you are the awareness behind your thoughts and not your thoughts, you have this like internal sense of safety where it's like, no matter what happens outside of you, I can rely on myself to be in control of the situation and how I respond, no matter what happens outside of me. And that difference of like the outsourcing versus internally sourcing your sense of power and safety, like that is the crux of what I'm trying to say here when it comes to mindset work. So hearing anyone else talk about mindset work, whether it's me, whether it's researching other people, like learning more about specifically your subconscious mind and just like the voices of like your ego, your inner child, anything along those lines are fantastic resources to more deeply understand your brain that I can personally attest to are the topics that helped me the most. People that come up specifically for personal transformation. One of my favorite people, oh my God, I love him so much. Flynn Skidmore. You should be able to find him easily on Instagram. The way that he talks about human psychology and the psyche like resonates with me so well. And I know that other people agree to this experience. He has like over 300,000 followers on Instagram or something, but he is a very well-known person in the space of like the human psyche. And he is a fantastic resource if you want to understand your brain more deeply. Looking up pretty much anything subconscious mind, you will probably find 1,000 people talking about like manifestation, things like that on podcasts, on Instagram, whatever. But still, good resources to have when it comes to that. And like I said, I have other podcast episodes that talk about mindset work. But if you are feeling like curious about this topic, I highly encourage you to seek out the resources that exist in abundance online, whether it's Instagram or podcasts or wherever you get your information from, books, anything. I highly recommend that you invest the time to more deeply understand your own psyche and how your brain works, because that programming and like, again, understanding that you're the awareness behind your thoughts, like one of the most significant pieces of your life that my ears just started ringing, that will contribute to you experiencing a way greater sense of freedom. All right, number 3, coming in hot with complacency. Learned complacency in the modern day. And when I think about complacency, what I imagine is someone who has worked at the same job for 40 years, a job that they absolutely fucking despise, a job that sucks their soul, and yet they have somehow convinced themselves it's not that bad. It's not that bad. I'm just going to stay. Like, it's fine. Like, I hate it. I hate it most of the time, or I hate it like half the time, but like, I'm just going to stay here. Like, it's fine. What the fuck? Like, why the fuck do people do that? I understand why people do it, because again, when you get into comfort zones, your brain really doesn't like to leave the comfort zones because it associates your sense of safety with what's familiar. So when you say, hey, I really hate this thing, I want to leave it, your brain says, okay, but you know this thing that you hate really well, so how am I supposed to know that I'm not going to die if I go to this thing that you allegedly say is a lot better for me, but like it's not familiar, so I don't know that we're not going to die. Like, you can't guarantee me that, so why should I believe you? That's literally the background processing that happens in your brain, and we can thank modern day survival skills for that. So shout out to that. Funny how survival instincts today shape how we experience our world, in the sense of like a very modernized society, whereas survival instincts back in the day actually allowed us to exist in tribes and genuinely survive. So fun little adaptations to fit the modern day, but nonetheless, awareness is the key here. It's going to be a lot harder to avoid complacency if you do not have conscious awareness and understanding of the desire to not want to be complacent at any point in your life. I feel like the word complacency just has this energy to it that just seems so judgy. And I really don't want to sound judgy right now. Like, I'm not trying to say that I know what's best. I know whatever. My goal for this whole podcast is honestly to seem like a voice of reason for my generation of people who are like kind of recently out of college, and also beyond as well. Anyone who's going through adulthood and you're going through society and you're like, why are things the way that they are? Like, I'm kind of just having the exact same thoughts, and I'm not above anyone else, and I'm just the one who's behind this microphone. So never take anything I say with this air of superiority, because I truly do not carry that. But when it comes to complacency, that's just something that I fear. I fear it very deeply, because when I think of being complacent with something, all I see and feel is like a sense of wasted potential and wasted time. And those two things really deeply connect to the sense of regret. And regret is probably one of the worst feelings I could ever imagine having in my life, especially when it comes to potential and how much of an impact I want to make on this earth, and just like the things that you could create, the things you could experience if you just allowed yourself to like question the ways that you're currently living, should they not be serving you. This is why I completely shifted career fields. This is why I said there is no way on God's green earth am I going to stay working in this job format that literally sucks my soul like a Dementor. There's no way I'm going to do that, which led to my unemployment era, which led to me starting a YouTube channel, which led to me getting a dream job, which led to me then continuing to post on social media separately and sharing all of these things and yada, yada, yada. Like, we all know the story, which you maybe don't, but I know it. So that's all that matters. Nonetheless, when you actively seek out experiences that go against any sort of sense of complacency, I guarantee you your life is going to be a lot better, and you're going to feel a lot more free to experience life to the highest potential available to you. And that's what I want for everyone. Like, every single person on this earth, I want them to be experiencing life to its greatest potential. Because why the frick would you want to live a life that is just watered down and boring, where you're just like accepting of your circumstances because you feel like there's nothing else out there for you? Like, please let that give you the ick. I hope that gives you the ick. And also, when you live a life that's kind of just fueled by complacency and you don't really have an awareness of it, you're automatically living on someone else's terms. You are living on someone else's terms, and you are completely neglecting the fact that you carry so much power and control over your own life, over your own experiences. No matter what, I guarantee you, you probably have some higher degree of control than what you're giving yourself credit for. And it can feel scary to like take control of your life and take responsibility over things, because it feels like a lot to say, like claim radical responsibility for your situations, your life, your circumstances. But when you actually do that, that's like the greatest gift that you can give to yourself, because you are completely free from any victim mindset, outsourcing of your power, anything like that. You are saying, yes, it's fucking scary to have this much responsibility, but like I am completely in control of my life and I'm the one who is in charge, and there is nothing outside of me that can take me away from that. Do you feel like the freedom behind, do you feel the sense of empowerment behind that? That is where I feel if more people took on that sense of responsibility, that mindset, and had more of this just like, I don't know, this passion behind wanting to actually take control of their lives, they would be a lot happier. Because like I said before, our brains are just trying to keep us safe. They're not trying to be, assholes that are keeping us from all of our hopes and dreams. So it's not like you are broken or lazy or you want to just be complacent. If you're someone who finds yourself stuck in the same kind of patterns, you're just living based on your brain's programming of how it best knows how to keep you safe. Because as I've said many times before, your brain does not want you to be happy. It wants you to be safe. And if something that is making you unhappy feels familiar, it's going to always choose that over something that's unfamiliar that will probably make you a lot happier. And this paradox right here is something that so many people are stuck in without even having any sense of awareness of how to get out of it. Because like I've said before, we don't have the education and the tools and the resources for the grand majority of the public to understand how important it is to have a grasp of this concept. But imagine how much better the world would be if everyone never settled for any sense of complacency, if no one settled for complacency, and everyone had an understanding that their brain is only trying to keep them comfortable, to keep them safe, and that more happiness lies beyond what they're currently experiencing, so they can trust that. If more people had that perspective and were able to kind of like take the leap of faith and take the steps to follow whatever it is their intuition is calling them towards, whether it's a different job, a different career field, a completely different like domain of life. Like if everyone followed that intuitive nudge towards what is actually more aligned for them, they'd be so much happier. Like each individual person would be so much happier. Their happiness and their alignment would then flow off in a ripple effect to literally like the rest of the world on a global scale. And the world would be a much better place where people are so much happier and so much more fulfilled and aligned and free. We loop it back in here, so much more free. But again, a lot of people are not of even like the conscious awareness of this, which is not their fault. Like our society is not designed for this. And this is where I loop back to the same things of like, I'm not superior to anyone else for having this perspective and understanding whatever. I am very frustrated that more people don't know this because we are naturally not given the resources on a global scale to kind of understand this, or as like a society, whatever. I don't expect there to be like some big earth like agenda to, help us heal our minds or whatever, but you know what I'm saying? It's not like this is common knowledge in schools in terms of like how it actually applies to our life. And if more people actually knew about this information, like they would be so much happier and our world would be so much more free and everything would just be like, it would just be so much better. Obviously within reason and discernment of like, shit still happens, but you get my point. And honestly, I think the best thing to do to avoid complacency is to just make a commitment to yourself that you're never going to let yourself be complacent in something. That if you catch yourself hating the circumstances that you're currently in, you're going to say, no, I'm not accepting this and I have the power to change it. And you are going to take the baby steps to make those changes and gradually over time shift the reality that you're experiencing to be one that is way more in line with what you actually want your life to look like and how you want to feel on a daily basis. Because I promise you, like a better version of life is available for every single person listening to this right now, including me, even people who are living like the most aligned, happiest version, whatever, of their life. There's always room for better. which isn't to say that like the life you have right now is never good enough. That's not what I mean at all. We have gratitude for everything that we have, and there's always more expansion to be had. Like that is the gift of life. There's always more learning, there's more experience, there's more everything. And we can't actually experience that unless we open ourselves up to being available for it, or even have the awareness that that's possible for us. So for a recap, the top 3 things keeping people stuck in these miserable loops of life that I would love if I could just eliminate from society are overconsumption without any sort of awareness, discernment, or sense of moderation. Number 2 is a lack of deep understanding of how our brains actually work to create the life and reality that we experience on a daily basis. And number 3 is embracing a sense of complacency without even understanding or realizing that you're doing it. If I could just flip a switch and have everyone in the world kind of be able to repair and heal these 3 main areas, I really do think that we would be so much better off as a collective. But nonetheless, all I can do right now is just yap in your little ears about it and hopefully continue to grow my brand and grow my impact and connect with other beautiful humans who feel the same as me, who want to build a sense of a community that's empowered, that's living how they want to be living, and just living their happiest, healthiest lives, being completely 100% their most organic self. That's the goal. That's the vision. And I just want to thank you so much for being here and listening to this podcast, because I really do appreciate everyone that tunes in. This for me can feel kind of just like a vortex that I'm sending out into the ether, but it means so much to know that I'm actually, being, I sound so dumb, being listened to by other people sometimes, as silly as that sounds. And I just really appreciate everyone for being here. So I hope if there's anything you took from this, it's either just some sort of expansion of the mind, maybe a different perspective, or just a little nugget that you can take with you of just something interesting, something to look further into. And maybe on the deeper end of things, you do a deep dive into mindset work, the subconscious mind, psychology, Flynn Skidmore, all of the things that I mentioned. But either way, I want you to be living your happiest, healthiest, most aligned version of your life. And the goal of this podcast is to help you get a little bit closer to that with every single episode. So I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day whenever you may be listening. Go be your most organic selves, and I will see you in the next one.